Awesome. So we have been into this conference for a few hours now. So this is going to be a presentation on performance feedback. So I would love some feedback just to start off. How are you guys feeling today? How are you feeling? Give me some vibes. How's the conference going? What are some takeaways that you have? How are you feeling? Um, I am a speaker. I'm trying to get a pulse on how you all are doing today. So I'd love to see in the chat if you could just describe in a word or two how you think that you are feeling. Give me some feedback. All right. I think I'm seeing in the Slack. All right. Enthused. All right. All right. So with that, I think I'm going to give you 4 out of 10. Now, 4 out of 10, this is very much on a Likert scale. This is the type of feedback that I'm giving you on your response to that question of how you're feeling. 4 out of 10, it's kind of okay. I know we can do a lot better. This is an entire session on performance feedback. I am a speaker trying to get a pulse on how you all are feeling today. So if you can go into the chat, we can do a lot better than a 4 out of 10. If you can describe how your day is going, tell me the vibe of the conference. How are you feeling? What takeaways do you have? Go in the chat. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to give me some feedback on how you're feeling today. We saw enthused by 1. Love to see another person. All right, I'm getting a little bit more feedback here. Surprisingly tired. That is an honest answer. All right. You think what? I actually have several numbers over here. Okay. All right. Information overload, but pumped. Okay. So you think I have pre-prepared numbers. Okay. Let's see. This is actually not a number because numbers is only one way. A Likert scale is only one way that we can give feedback. Another way that we can give feedback is through a checkbox. See, I am looking for faster feedback. I want faster feedback within the checkbox, within the chat box. I'm looking for a specific type of feedback. So on this checkbox, I'm looking for more specific types of answers, and I'm looking for a specific type of quantity. All right. So you didn't get a number this time, but you actually got a checkbox on what I'm looking for in the chat box. So I'm going to ask you it one more time. I am a speaker. I am looking to get a pulse on how you all are feeling. I have a little bit of feedback. Some people are feeling tired, feeling a little bit overloaded, but feeling pretty pumped too, getting a lot of information. So go ahead and put in the chat. Tell me how you are feeling today. I'm looking for faster feedback, all right? This time I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Be a little bit more specific, also looking for a specific type of quantity. Ready, go. 5 seconds. 4 seconds. Here we go. Good. Garrett's feeling good, feeling tired, feeling good. Could be better if I was in Sydney. I feel you like that. All right. This is good. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to give you one more chance. Specifically, you've learned a lot of things. All right, so we got a Likert scale. We got a checkbox. This time, I'm going to be even more specific. That was passing. That was some good feedback. So I am going to give you a 7 out of 10, but I'm going to be even more specific on what I'm looking for. All right, so you have a 7 out of 10. That is passing. Well done. Better than a 4 out of 10. I want you to describe how you're feeling using only words that begin with the letter A. I'm going to start talking a little bit more so that you can begin thinking of words that begin with the letter A. Awesome. Amazing. Use words that begin with the letter A. The quantity I am looking for, based on industry standards, we don't want to do too little, don't want to do too much. 3 words that begin with the letter A. I'm also going to give you 10 seconds. All right. So in this type of feedback, I am giving you a number so you can see on a Likert scale, on a numerical scale, how you're doing. I'm also giving you very specific feedback on what I am looking for within the chat box. This is our final go. This is the final bit of information that you have to describe your day in, hold on, I didn't say go yet, to describe your day in the chat box. Ready, set, go. Awestruck and average. Absolutely awesomely amazed. Oh man. Awe-inspired. Oh, this is so many A words. All right. Alliterative, aardvark, angrily ate avocados eons ago. Amazing, awesome, astonished. You're looking at my sombrero. I love that. Fantastic. All right. This one was pre-prepared. I will let you know. Final go. 10 out of 10. Guys, we are 5 minutes into this talk, and we have already been given a lot of feedback and adjusted our performance based off of the feedback that we have gotten, based off of the feedback that we've received. And we have improved and gotten better and went from a 4 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10, 5 minutes into this talk. This is so exciting. So thank you so much for participating in our first activity. I'm so glad to be here. Again, my name is Vanderburg. And in case if you have not noticed from my accent, I am indeed American. In fact, a few years ago, I was the only American. I was the only female. I was the only Christian, and I was the only blonde academy football coach or soccer coach for the Adidas Game Day Academies and Paris Saint-Germain PSG Academies in Bangalore, India, to coach widely the first generation of athletes on both an elite and a grassroots level. I coached about a dozen teams, mostly boys with a few girls, ages 6 to about 16. And as I got off the plane, I discovered that our team was operating under a very strict command-obey dynamic. Oftentimes, our players would come to sessions and they would stand in a line, kick a ball, wait for instruction. And they would come to our sessions and they would stand in a line, kick a ball, wait for direction. And they would stand in a line, kick a ball, wait for feedback. And while this may have been an efficient way to teach a task, in a game scenario, it was a disaster. So oftentimes our players within the course of the match would kick the ball perfectly, exactly the way that we taught them. And then, before the play was even over, they would turn to the sideline to the coach for further direction and feedback. See, they had mastered the task, but they didn't quite understand how it applied to the overall game scenario. And while it might be easy to think of this as a foreign academy in sports with kids, how often do we go to work, receive a task, and wait for instruction? See, in order to give great performance feedback, we must first create an environment of great performance. And so we intentionally had to transform our academy from lines and laps and lectures to one of creativity and collaboration and true captainship. And the first thing that we had to do was stop, and truly stop. We stopped commanding the how, and we started clearly communicating the what and the why. So we started clearly communicating, our what, and there it is, and our why. And then we allowed opportunities for ownership within the how. So we clearly communicated the what and the why, and we allowed opportunities for ownership within the how. In application, it looked a little something like this. Rather than stand on a line, kick a ball, wait for instruction, we provided challenges So from here, kick the ball to knock down those 3 cones. Because in order to do that, you're going to have to kick with power and precision. And in a game scenario, whenever you pass, whenever you kick, whenever you shoot, you're also going to have to kick with power and precision. Now, this isn't a dramatic change in our communication, but really a slight shift. And from here, we could create an environment where our team members could be more creative in discovering the best how. Now, we found that there were some areas of the game that we couldn't change. Some were pretty concrete, but there were 4 major opportunities for ownership that we could provide. And that was within our courses, our methods, our projects, and our roles. And as we provided those opportunities for ownership, and by clearly communicating that what and that why, we found that our team members were discovering the best how and truly created an environment for great performance. Now, from challenges like these, I saw some of the most heated debates I'd ever seen amongst 7-year-olds, trying to decide if the best way to kick the ball was with the infoot or with the laces. In reality, both ways were right. And so we were able to increase the tools in our toolbox of resources so that we could complete the goal. Now, this was good because the end result is we had more resources and we had more ways to complete our task. But we also were engaging in more conflict. See, opportunities for ownership create more opportunities for conflict, but they also create more opportunities for conversations over complacency. You're challenging those norms. Say that again. Opportunities for ownership create more opportunities for conflict, but it also created more opportunities for conversations over complacency. Now, we didn't just want to create an environment that could have more tension and more conflict and not equip our players to actually engage in those conversations. See, beforehand, there was only one way to kick the ball. Now there's at least 2. So, how do we engage in those conversations? I'm glad that you asked. First, we had to have conversations. So we actually engaged in a task that I do, a conversation that I do at the beginning of any project. I actually have this conversation whenever I come onto a new team, whenever we take on a new client, and we have proactive conversations. Now, a proactive conversation is a simple 5-minute conversation that goes like this. At some point in this relationship, there's going to be conflict. At some point in this project, there's going to be tension. There's going to be heat. And so while the emotions are low now, let us proactively discuss how we're going to handle that situation whenever it inevitably arises. And this is 2 really powerful things. First off, it sets an expectation for tension within the team. It sets an expectation that there will be some sort of conflict. Sometimes team members are hesitant to bring about and confronting tense situations because they don't want to admit that the tension is there. But by having a proactive conversation, you're saying not only does it happen, but we're expecting it to happen and we have a game plan to move forward. And that's the second powerful thing that it does, is rather than the ambiguity of what's going to happen in this conversation, what should I say, how will the conversation go? Here, you've actually outlined a game plan and outlined a script of how those conversations are going to happen whenever conflict and tension inevitably arises within a team. Now, there's actually ways that you can get very specific within your proactive conversations by assessing team dynamics. Now, you can assess team dynamics a variety of different ways. You can use personality tests. You can use a variety of different demographic tests. There's a couple very simple things that I do, especially in terms of developers and especially within design, of looking very specifically within team dynamics. One thing that I do is I have the team members pull out a note card. And on the front part of the note card, you can write, these are the areas in which I feel strong in the team. These are the areas in which I provide value to the team. These are the areas that are my biggest strengths. You write that on the front side of the card. And then on the opposite side of the card, you write areas in which I really hope that there's somebody else on the team that this is their strength. I really hope that there is somebody on the team that has a strength in this. I'll give you an example. I personally am very much a big picture type of person. I can see the big picture, I can see the vision, and I'm good at driving action. However, on the opposite side of the card, I really hope that there is somebody on our team that is detail oriented, that is great with the follow through, that is an organized systems person. And I know in this scenario that we are going to complement each other, and together we're going to make the team stronger. But we're probably going to have a little bit of frustration as well. The other team member might be frustrated that I am not as detail oriented, and I might be frustrated that the other team member is not seeing the big picture and driving the action the same way that I do, because we're different and we're complementing each other, but we might have that frustration. And so our proactive conversation is extremely specific. You say, hey, we will more than likely have frustrations about this specific topic. We've already assessed this. We're already predicting where the conflict specifically might lie. So what is our game plan moving forward? And this is a really short conversation that you can have that can lay the groundwork, especially at the beginning of a project, that can lay the groundwork to really set your team up for great success within the team. So having those proactive conversations is huge. Also, by assessing team dynamics, it also helps to overcome one of the greatest barriers to great performance feedback, and that is the fundamental attribution error. Now, the fundamental attribution error is really just a fancy way of saying that too oftentimes we judge other people by their behaviors while we judge ourselves by our actions or by our intentions. So we judge other people by their behaviors while we judge ourselves by our intentions. I'll give you an example. See, we see this quite often in our everyday lives. I see this whenever we're driving down the road. See, if I'm driving down the road and somebody cuts me off, then obviously they're a horrible driver. They're completely inconsiderate. We need to take their license away. I don't know what they're thinking being on the road. But if I accidentally cut somebody off, I didn't intend to cut them off. I didn't see that the lane was ending so quickly. I didn't expect that I had to change lanes so quickly. I didn't see the person there, and I look at my intentions. We see this within our teams as well. And even though we've created an environment for great performance by clearly communicating the what and the why, and we've had proactive conversations, we've assessed team dynamics, we've clearly communicated the expectations within the team, undesired performance can still happen. So we must communicate our expectations. Uncommunicated expectations are doomed to be unmet expectations. But poor performance can still happen within the team. And this is when, especially in a remote team in this time, understanding the fundamental attribution error is key. And so I encourage you to ask the question, if you have a team member with undesired performance, to ask, what was your intention whenever you did that? I was working with a team just a few months ago where there was a team member that was coming to meetings, and team members did not like whenever this person came to the meetings because he was seen as abrupt, seen as abrasive. Some even said malicious. And so I asked the man, I said, what is your intention whenever you're speaking at meetings? And his intent was to be passionate, was to be persuasive. And see, from here, we actually identified a knowledge gap between intended behavior and perceived behavior. And so we were able to approach the conversation from more of a partnership and truly coach the behavior and really work with the individual on altering communication styles within meetings. And this was a powerful relationship and dynamic that we could approach the undesired performance. See, we want to go from more of a coaching aspect than a reprimanding, policing behavior. Really want to partner with our team members to improve that performance. See, feedback has really three main purposes, and knowing the purpose of your feedback will dramatically improve and can dramatically guide the content of our feedback. See, the first purpose of our feedback is to encourage desired behavior. It's to encourage desired behavior. Now, as you are encouraging desired behavior, I encourage you to get specific, to get strategic. I recall as a football coach or as a soccer coach, sometimes at the end of the game, I would have coaches come and they would say, "Good game, good job, keep up the good work, you're doing great." And while that may sound good, the players oftentimes left feeling good, but not knowing what behavior specifically was desired to be repeated. What behavior are we encouraging? And so I encourage you to get specific, to truly get strategic. Identify specifically what behavior you are wanting repeated and what behavior you are encouraging within your team whenever you are giving that feedback. The second purpose of feedback is to correct undesired behavior. There we go. In the same regard, whenever I was a football coach, I had a team member that loved to come into the locker room at halftime whenever we were losing, and he knew with absolute confidence what we needed to do to win the game. He would come in and he would say, "Guys, we just need to play better." And while he was correct, it wasn't specific enough for us to truly identify what we needed to do to truly improve. And so, yes, we did need to play better, but we need to ask a series of whats and whys to truly do a little bit of a causal analysis on what we specifically could do better to improve our performance. And so if you are giving that if you're trying to correct undesired behavior, I encourage you to look at the action step that you are desiring to be changed. Oftentimes, the correcting undesired behavior comes with some emotion with it as well of this is really making me frustrated. But let's focus also on what action step can be taken. Be very specific in the action that you are wanting to correct. That way that you can be strategic in improving that behavior. And that leads me to the third purpose of feedback. And that is to coach, or to build upon existing behavior. Oops. Knowing the purpose of your performance feedback can act as a guideline as you are preparing to give that feedback to your team members. Ask yourself this really simple question. What is my desired outcome of this conversation? Am I trying to encourage desired behavior, correct undesired behavior, or coach or build upon existing behavior? And knowing that purpose can act as a critical guideline in the way that we are giving our feedback. Now, we know the purpose of our feedback, but how are we actually going to deliver it? One of my favorite authors, Dr. Mark Rutland, writes that great communication boils down to the right message delivered the right way to the right audience at the right time. Many times, the message that we have, the feedback that we have, is just fine. But we need to be cognizant of the method that we are using to deliver that communication. Why are love letters so effective? Love letters. See, love letters can be effective for a variety of different ways. One is the intentionality with which people used to write the letters. Another is the actual tangible letter that is being received. So you actually have it on paper. But I believe that one of the main reasons why love letters are so powerful and so effective is because there is a span of time between each correspondence for the words to sink in. There is a span of time between each communication and each correspondence for emotions to build. And between each letter, the recipient has time to ponder on the words, for the emotion to build, to anticipate the next letter that is coming. And all of that is extremely desired in a love letter. But we see that same emotional input in the types of communication and the methods of communication that we have within our workspaces. Meaning, there are some times that a email, a text, a memo, where there is a span of time in between each correspondence, allows the span of time for emotions to build. And so something that could be a 5-minute phone call or video chat has spanned into a 10-day problem solving initiative where those emotions can build. So we want to be cognizant of the method of communication that we're using so that we can ensure that the message that we are trying to give is received in the best way possible. Now, there is a time and space for each of these methods of communication. We need to be cognizant of the emotion. So it's really more of a spectrum. If you are having more of a information about a meeting, having information that is more maybe very simple policy related. We have a lunch coming up on Friday, very informational, very information based. Then using something like a memo, a text, an email, a Slack message, if you're in Teams, using a message here, this is the preferred form of communication. This is very low emotion. All right, so this is low emotion communication. Here on this side, we have looking at undesired performance communication. You don't want to discuss undesired performance in a memo, right? We want to actually have an in-person conversation. In-person could be a phone call, a Zoom chat. You want to be as personal as you can to get that real-time feedback. And then I discuss this part here in the middle of really deciding, okay, how many emails is it going to take to to come up with a solution. If it's more than 6 to 8, do we want to do a little bit more in person? If it's going to be just a couple, we can err on the side more of a email and text. So we want to really consider the emotion on the spectrum to decide what is going to be the best method to deliver our communication. So many times within performance feedback, people will look at the message of communication, but remember that there's 3 other critical pillars to communication. So it's the right message delivered at the right time in the right way to the right audience. So we're considering the timing. We want to make sure we're using the right method of communication and we have the right people in the room. So that's really a lot that you can keep in mind that we want to consider as we're giving our performance feedback. Now, everything that we've talked about so far has really been more about informal feedback. So everyday feedback that you are giving within your team. We've talked about setting an environment for great performance, proactively what you can do at the beginning of a project, taking on a new client, coming into a new team. We've talked a little bit about how to be very specific so that you can get strategic and the purpose of our performance feedback. But what about more formal performance feedback? What type of feedback on a formal standpoint is going to be the most effective? There's a couple things. See, as a football coach, I didn't want to be the only voice on the field. In fact, there were times that I didn't want to be the loudest voice on the field. There are other people on the team that have different perspectives. They were standing on different parts of the pitch. They were standing on different parts. They had different relationships. They had different insights. And we wanted multiple forms of communication, multiple people engaging in that feedback. Now, what we wanted to do was allow an opportunity for our team to take ownership of the feedback that they were both giving and receiving. For some teams, this can be a 360 review. Now, 360 reviews is one very specific way that some teams give feedback. I encourage you to be very strategic if you're going to do a 360 to make sure that that's implemented in the most productive way. But there's also forms of performance feedback that included, and feedback ownership, that included allowing a platform for team members to speak up and give that feedback, allowing a time and a space, whether that be within your retrospectives, whether that be in your daily stand-up, could be creating a time at the end of the project where you are really giving feedback on your team members' performance. So creating some sort of opportunity for multiple people to give their insights about their performance. And within that, we didn't want to just say, hey, give performance feedback to everyone. We also wanted to equip our team to know the purpose of performance feedback so that they too could be specific to be strategic. We wanted to equip our team members to give great performance feedback. So yeah, we wanted to do that as well. What is the desired feedback loop? How often should we be giving performance feedback? Some teams have a variety of different ways. So it could be at the end of a milestone and of a project. For organizational feedback, 2 most popular, the Goldilocks standard. This is my Goldilocks, and the 3 bears is either quarterly or bi-monthly. Quarterly or bi-monthly for formal organizational feedback. And this is the reason why. We don't want to do more than that is a huge commitment. Less than that, say once a year, is way too little. We don't want to be addressing performance that happened in February in December. So quarterly or bi-monthly is really preferred. So there is a span of time between receiving feedback, digesting the feedback, coming up with a game plan on how to improve feedback based off of the feedback that, or improve performance based off of the feedback that you were just given, to implement that action plan, and then allow for other people to see that action plan in place. So that's a lot to happen, to digest the feedback, to come up with an action plan, to implement the action plan, and then allow other people to notice the change. That is usually the span of a couple of months. So that is why quarterly or bi-monthly is really going to be preferred on a formal feedback loop. For an informal feedback, this has been a major question, especially within remote teams. Most team members prefer 2 to 3 times a week. Recent studies have been saying, especially among millennials, Gen Z, 2 to 3 times a week with check-ins. That is the minimum that many team members are desiring as far as informal feedback, informal check-ins within their team. So that's quite a bit of constant communication, checking in with your team, and truly giving that feedback on what performance, giving feedback on the performance that is being given. So it's 2 to 3 times a week for informal, and then quarterly or bi-monthly for formal feedback. And again, in all of these, we do want to be as specific as we can so that we can truly be strategic. I do want to pause right here because I know that sometimes people do have questions about that org setup as a whole. If you do have any questions, feel free to put those in. Put those in as well. Looks like we don't have any. Okay. Awesome. All right. Last but not least, we can give as much performance feedback as we want. We can set up an environment for great performance. We've done a lot, right? We've set up an environment for great performance. We've clearly communicated our what and our why. We have allowed opportunities for ownership within the how. We have created an environment where we have had proactive conversations. We've clearly identified our team dynamics. We've predicted where tension might lie. We have been very specific to be strategic. That way that we can coach behavior, we can correct undesired behavior, we can encourage desired behavior. We have set up systems and processes within our overall organization of allowing platforms so that our team can truly have feedback ownership so that they can give feedback to their team members as well, which is really powerful as it can alter the focus from the individual scorecard of always receiving feedback only on yourself to truly looking at the overall scoreboard. And so having that feedback ownership is so critical. We've also looked at having our organizational setup of how often we should be giving formal and informal feedback within your organization. And you can do all of that. And if we do not truly practice what we preach and put into action the feedback that we are giving and are given, then it won't truly make a big impact within our team. See, we can say, hey, I'm here for you. I want you to improve. We're going to correct this behavior. We're going to encourage behavior. I'm going to coach and help to improve performance. But the words that we speak will fall on deaf ears if we're not actually doing something as well. If there is poor performance because of a lack of tools, a lack of resources, lack of skills training, and we are not being forthcoming and proactively helping and actually taking that action, then we have not done all that we can to truly help improve the overall scoreboard. Our actions speak a lot louder than our words. And so we have to be prepared to truly take action based off of the feedback that we both are giving and are given. And this is something that takes more than just ourselves. See, if you want to achieve your dreams all on your own, then you're probably not dreaming big enough. Within our teams, we're building something that's much bigger than ourselves. And so we have to include more than ourselves to truly be successful within our teams. See, whenever I was working within our sports teams in India, I recall one day I was coaching a young lad named Achintya. And Achintya was so excited for his first day of football. He came running out onto the field and he began yelling, "Pass! Pass! Pass!" And I noticed that Achintya was yelling pass even whenever the other team had the ball. And Achintya was yelling pass even whenever he was miles away from the action. And Achintya was yelling pass whenever he had the ball. And so he was running with the ball, going, "Pass! Pass! Pass!" And so I looked up at Achintya and I said, "Achintya, why are you yelling pass?" And he looked at me and he said, "Miss Embermam, I do not know what it means. I only know it is a football word." And sometimes I hear organizations sound a little bit like my friend Achintya. Yelling words like leadership, teamwork, collaboration, proactive conversations, performance, feedback, we got this. Because we know that these are really big words that can lead to big goals. But if we're in the wrong position, if we're miles away from the action, or even if we have the ball and we don't know in which direction we're going, then saying these words are not only ineffective, but it's actually detrimental to our overall communication within the team. Eventually, the team is going to tune you out. But if we first take the time to truly create an environment for great performance, we have proactive conversations, we know the purpose of our performance feedback, and we know how to address undesired performance, and we have a system of great performance feedback, and then we're also prepared to take action, then we'll be in a position to yell the word pass, to receive the ball, to move forward, and to score really big goals. And so, as you are giving your performance feedback today within your teams, I encourage you to get in the position so that you can truly give that performance feedback and score super big goals within your organization. I do want to pause right here and see if anyone has any questions or any feedback for me. And if not, then I actually have an activity that we can do as well. But I do want to pause here first. Everyone's just so blown away by Achintya. Activity starts with A. That's so true. Okay, well, great. Well, I have two activities actually that we can do. So for this first activity, you are going to need a piece of paper. You're going to need two things. You're going to need a piece of paper and a pencil or a writing utensil. This is a competition. This is an activity that I use to assess team dynamics. and we're going to debrief how we can actually use this in our conversations. All right. Whoops. That pen is not going to work. So take a piece of paper and a writing utensil. I'm going to give you 90 seconds. 90 seconds. This is a competition to see who can draw the most circle item objects. So they have to be different circle item objects. An orange, a basketball, a smiley face, circle item objects. All right? Looks like we have people that are ready. Hold on. Don't you dare go yet. On your mark, get set, go. Hold on. I have some music here. I have some music. As many circle item objects as you can. As many circle item objects as you can. Oh, we're drawing as many circle item objects as we can. Gareth. You got 10 more seconds. As many circle item objects as you can.
Oh, fuck off, man.
3, 2, 1. Stop. Pencils down. Pencils down. Pencils down. Hands up. All right. All right. Let's see in the chat. Count up how many items did you draw? How many circle item objects did you draw? 3, 6, 7, 10. 0. Well, 0 is a circle, so I guess that could be your first item object. 7, 5. All right, awesome. 3. Okay, fantastic. So did you find that? All right, so I would love to see. Let's see. Katie drew 10. Two different things. The ones that you drew, did you find that you were following a specific path, such as basketball, baseball, softball, soccer ball? Was it all one, or orange, apple, watermelon, lemon, pear? Pear's not circle. I'm getting confused. But drawing circle item objects. Did you follow a path, or did you draw one of very different things? Did you follow one path of drawing a lot of kind of in the same family, or were they a lot of things in various different families? I think some they were in different families. Balls, space objects. Tried a different family. Okay, a hula hoop. Did anyone do Mickey Mouse? No. Ooh, okay. Hula hoop was popular. Lava yo-yo, okay. Okay, yes, that's a good one. Play stop record button. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm seeing, quite a few. Yeah, so somewhere in different families, somewhere in the same. Did you find that the ones that you drew, let me speak to the people that had, 8 to 10 first. There is a huge likelihood that you did not have as many details. Well, let me ask, were those pictures very detailed at all? Did they have any details? Okay. Oh, I'm seeing the pictures. Okay, these are good. Okay, I can tell what those are. You have a ring. Oh, I'm liking these. Okay. All right, I'm seeing this. Yeah. Variety of different ones. Generally, whenever I am looking at teams, this is a 90-second activity. There's two major tells that you can have, especially in terms of team dynamics. First is there are people within the team. There is a type of ideation where you can follow one track and delve very deep into one set of family or one train of thought. And then there is another type of ideation where you're drawing inspiration from a variety of different places. It is not that one is better than the other. They actually complement each other very well within team dynamics. And so you find, especially on the design side, and especially on the development side, following those two different tracks can really be a tell of where those areas of complement and frustration may lie. The second, of following one track, going very deep, and then drawing inspiration from a lot of places. Another big tell is generally people that have less items, they draw more detailed items. And so they might, in the ideation phase, not come up with as many ideas, but the ones that they have are more thought through and have more details to them. Whereas if you are like me, I will do this activity and have 20 different ideas, but you can't really tell what any of them are because it's really just a bunch of scribbles and circles. And so they're not detailed at all. And that is very much how my ideation brain works. And so you can also see whenever implementing ideas, whenever working within a team, that is a huge tell of how teams are looking at a lot of ideas, quantity versus very detail oriented as well. This is a 90-second activity. A wheel for a motorcycle. Ooh, okay, I like the sombrero. Yeah, you could have just drawn all the hats that I had. These are from all of my travels. Yeah, so this is a really quick 90-second activity that you can use within your team that can really set forth the conversation of where areas of complement and where areas of conflict might lie, especially within the performance feedback. Yeah, that's huge. Okay, that was our first activity. Are we ready for our second one? Okay, this is my second activity that I do to analyze team dynamics to actually see where our areas of complement may lie, especially within performance feedback. So for this activity, I need you to turn over your piece of paper. We'll save. So turn over your piece of paper or get on a new piece of paper. And this time I want you to draw one line across horizontally and then draw 3 lines vertically. So you should have 8 boxes. 8 boxes. All right. So now what I want you to do, I'm going to restart my watch. I'm going to give you 20 seconds. 20 seconds per box. All right. And 20 seconds per box. And I will say next after each 20 seconds has passed. And in each box, I want you to write down or draw a picture to show how you prefer recognition and communication within your team. All right. So recognition and communication within your team. Whenever you are working with a team, what is your idealized communication methods and recognition forms? Okay. We're ready. This will be interesting to see what your team says. All right. So you have 20 seconds per box, 8 different ways that your preferences on communication within your team and recognition within your team as well. Ready, get set, go. Where'd my music go? thinking. Next. 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 You're almost there. Examples of recognition. Yes. Yes, preferred communication within your team. Next, you got 2 more. Idealized communication within your team. Next. Last one. Time. All right, that's time. Did we get them all? All right. Go ahead and look at the paper that you have. Do you find you only got 6 and you got 8 different forms of communication within your team is a lot. Yeah, so that's why I had communication and recognition for sure. Got 6 and you got stuck. Did you find that there was a theme of the different types of communication methods that you had, or did you find that there was a theme there? Was it more public praise? Was it more private? Was it more collaborative? Was it more working on your own? So one thing that I find whenever I do this within a team is there are different patterns that you can find on communication preferences. There are teams that will prefer, a mixture of both, some public, some private, some whole team. Depending on the team, you can look at, okay, this is my primary form. So whenever I thought of my idealized communication, especially with performance feedback, what is my idealized communication? Generally, people will write in the first top row, this is my primary preference. This is secondary. And by comparing the team's answers to that from that initial gut, this is my preference, it actually can be really powerful for us as leaders to see how we can adjust our communication to really give that performance feedback in a way that it's going to be best received. And so actually doing an activity like this is really powerful to give insights, not just for you as a leader, but also for the team to see how your team prefers that communication as well. So they can kind of see how to adjust the communication styles as well. So that was a little bit longer. That was a 2-minute that was a 3-minute activity that we did. So it took a few minutes longer, but it actually can give some insights into those different communication preferences and can also allow us to see some people will put, hey, I prefer very direct communication. Some people prefer a little bit softer communication. And so looking at those idealized preferences can be really powerful in the delivery of that performance feedback. So awesome. Well, it looks like I am, close to my time. Again, my name is Amber Vanderburg. I am with the Pathways Group. So we actually work with teams all over the world, helping to improve their performance using ideas such as performance feedback. So if you have any questions at all, my link to my LinkedIn and Twitter is actually in the chat. I'd love to connect with you guys and continue the conversation.